do what I do, I need some idea of the threat we face.
As I understand it, we're trying to prevent World War III.
Nuclear holocaust.
No. Something worse.
All I have for you is a word. Tenet. It'll open the right doors, some of the wrong ones too.
We have to start looking at the world in a new way.
Don't try to understand it. Feel it.
What'll happen here?
Hasn't happened yet.
Hello and welcome to this spoiler-filled review of Christopher Nolan's Tenet. I'm Ashley Hobley. Joining me for this, Dylan Blight.
Hello. I mean, rubbing in there, got him.
Yeah, so we're talking about, in this episode, Tenet. We're going to be going full spoilers. So if you're not one of the 70 countries that has Tenet released, and you're not brave enough to go to the cinema to go see Tenet, I would recommend not listening to this.
Clarify, I'd also recommend if you're in most American states, do not go to the cinema. This is before I've even told you if I like the movie or not. Even if this was a 10 out of 10,
Probably
just
not
don't.
a smart idea.
I don't think, yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking about Tenet, directed by Christopher Nolan, written by Christopher Nolan, starring John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, Dimple Kapadia, Michael Caine, and Kenneth Branagh. Armed with
someone.
What?
Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Aaron Taylor
Shout-outs?
Johnson, Himish Patel, also in that. But, you know, he wasn't listed as one of the headliners, so...
No.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Aaron Taylor Johnson was in the movie till I saw it, and I was staring at him the entire time.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
You haven't worked in ages. It seems like you got killed as Quicksilver, and then, you know...
Hey.
That was it. But yes, the plot of the synopsis: armed with only one word, Tenet, and fighting for the survival of the entire world, a protagonist journeys through a twilight world of international espionage on a mission that will unfold in something beyond real time. Dylan, what the hell happened in this film? Or did you like it?
I did like the movie. I'll leave it at that for now. What happened in the movie is a guy is the chicken, and then at the end of the movie it says, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And then credits roll. Boom.
Yes. I liked it as well. I have issues. I assume you have issues as well.
Oh yeah.
It is I feel like it brings up interesting ideas and concepts. I don't know if it ever follows through and fully explores them. But again, we've only watched the film once, and for what I've seen from cast interviews and that, even they had to watch it like 4 or 5 times before some of the themes in the film sort of came up more prevalently. Obviously, Christopher Nolan loves his time travel and time manipulation and all kind of that thing, so that's prevalent throughout the film. But yeah, I had a good time. There are certain nitpicky things that I'm like, I wish they had been slightly changed. Let me just straight out say it. If you didn't like Dunkirk or Interstellar because of the sound mix, you're not going to be very happy with this. No. At times, the score is like way too loud. Several times I couldn't hear what I believed to be key pieces of dialogue that may have helped in my enjoyment of the film. Yeah, Dylan, how do you feel about the sound mix?
So we'll get that out of the way, because that's obviously going to be a lot of people's one major gripes, I feel, when more people see this. That's a Christopher Nolan thing, and I'm neither going to justify it or, or, say, like, I
Defend it,
personally, I feel like, although I notice it, and I've noticed it ever since because the big one I feel like when it all started was Dark Knight Rises with Bane, obviously, I feel like is when it started. However, although I've always noticed it to be kind of hard and you have to sort of like prick your ears up a bit more and pay more attention, I've never actually struggled with it as much as I feel I read other people do, because I never had issues with Dark Knight Rises. Like it was muffled, but I could understand him. Dunkirk was the same thing. It was muffled, but I can understand. There's only one part in this movie where I couldn't actually understand or hear anything, which is when they're on the boats or whatever the hell they are, the little jet ski boat things that they were on, and they're like shouting back at one another then, but you just can't hear anything because of the. But I think obviously, yeah, I think
plays into it a bit.
I think that plays into it, yeah. So that one I didn't mind too much. Other than that, there are several other scenes in Dunkirk because characters have masks on and whatever else where it is muffled. However, I kind of just feel like I force myself to sort of pay more attention than I usually would, and I can understand it. And I obviously went into the movie expecting that because I just know that Nolan, for whatever reason, likes to have this. I'm not going to justify it or hate it because I don't. Either way, like I don't love it or hate it. I just don't particularly care because it's never bothered me that much. Because I know that's a lot of people's big hang up with Dark Knight Rises is, oh, Bane's stupid, you can't even understand him. I'm like, I never really had trouble understanding him. Fire Rises, brother, like it's easy. So if that's one major gripe, but my major gripe of this movie though, like proper major gripe to throw it out there, would be that the Nolan's idea gets bigger than the rest of the movie to the degree that it kind of like the idea becomes the movie, and then that means the characters kind of get second fiddle at all points in the movie, and that's my major hang up with it. Like it's kind of meta and funny for like the first little bit that like John David Washington's main character is literally just called the protagonist. And at first that's like, oh, haha. But then you never find out his name at all. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. But then by the time you reach the end of the movie and you realize most characters have little or no character progression because so many scenes are spent on exposition and explaining what's happening to the audience, I guess. In a lot of ways, and I don't know if I'm just doing the whole thing that a lot of people are going to do, which is, oh, you're not smart enough to understand the movie, blah, 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 blah. But in a lot of ways, I feel like the core premise of the movie is actually quite easy to understand. And by core premise, I mean the bare bones of what happens. Like, that's the bad guy. This happens. End of the movie, I feel like everyone should have a basic understanding of he is the one, John David Washington's the protagonist. He's the one who sent himself into this job. Rob Pattinson's character's dead. That's the first time he's meeting, but then he's about to send off to die, but it's also the first time they're meeting. Like, blah, 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 blah. If you want to get further than that and be like, why are people sending back the stuff from the future? That's a step further, but I feel like the core bones of good guy,
basic
best, bad
element
guy.
of the story is very basic.
Yes.
Protagonist has to stop the bad guy from destroying the world.
Yes.
It's so many spy movies we've seen before.
Yeah, and the bad guy plot is really stupid. Like, it literally boils... his whole thing of, well,
it's kind of one note,
I'm going to die, so I'll kill everyone. That's stupid. But my thing is that because so many scenes are spent explaining the time travel nonsense and whatever else, I actually feel like you could have spent less doing that and made the movie more reliant on audiences just either grasping quickly or just choosing not to explain a lot, and then having more scenes for actual character scenes or character progression, or even just character moments, like even just more scenes of the protagonist talking to what's Robert Pattinson's character? Neil. More scenes of those two just talking, because you only get like one proper scene of them just kind of having a chit chat in the entire movie. Like, I feel like the movie could have just been more confusing and had more character progression, and I would have preferred that. Because as it stands, I feel like they spend too long explaining the concept to the audience to the point that it kind of brings the movie down. That's my big complaint, my big negative.
No, yeah, I totally get that. There's no character to the characters, really. I think they gave good performances, but there wasn't anything in the plot or anything to expand on them at all. I think probably what's her name?
Elizabeth
Debicki's character, Kat. She's the one who gets the most development probably in the entire film.
Yeah.
But she's a female character in a Nolan movie, so I mean, she's not going to get a lot of credit, I don't think. I
feel like it's the most character progression he's given any
one
female character that I can think of.
That's true, probably. Yeah. And then, everyone else is kind of fine. Kenneth Branagh does a solid job as the one-note villain, but he's a one-note villain, so,
Yeah.
He is super menacing and shit, but he's a very stereotypical
I guess the
type we've seen
problem
before.
is that, because this is ultimately Nolan's Bond movie. Like his spy movie. From the poster down to the way it's shot, the way it kind of moves at a very fast pace for the first half of it. That reminded me a lot of the Bond movies, or especially the older James Bond movies. It'd be like location, like doing this, or like, but even the Mission Impossible movies, when you think about it, it's like location, small heist job, location, big heist job, like to end the movie. It's a lot of spy movies in general have a lot of jumping around, and you can tell this is his spy movie. But again, if you want to compare to modern day Bond, I feel like even the last James Bond movie, which I wasn't a big fan of, still had more character moments for.
Well, to be fair,
characters.
that was very much a character movie. It was focused on, spoilers, the relationship between James Bond and whoever Christopher Nolan was playing.
Yeah, I don't know what their fake name for his Dr. No character or whatever it was. And then, but yeah, Kenneth Branagh's character, very Bond villainy. From the performance down to his motivations and his scene eatery of every single scene he's in. Like, not to the point it's silly, but it is like he's kind of given it all.
Yeah. With his thick Russian Siberian accent.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you think of like the sci-fi aspects of the film? Obviously, thing is, there's this time inversion technology that makes things go in reverse, pretty much.
I think, and this is the reason they should have spent less time explaining it. I think if you just leave it as, if you throw out to the audience, these things have got their like cells reverted, so they're running in reverse or something, and you can't just leave it at that. It kind of doesn't explain enough to be silly, or like it kind of just leaves in a weird way. I think because they try and explain more of it to make it sound more scientific, it kind of becomes stupider in that regard. Like that first scene he spends with the doctor character when he tracks her down and does the whole gun stuff, that goes for way too long, and I think that should have just been a lot shorter of a scene. But I feel like that is the key scene where they're like, this is where we'll explain the audience, and he's learning what's happening, and he's like, whoa, shit. Oh, it feels like there's that one line where he goes, why does it feel so different? It's because you're catching the bullet, not shooting it. It's like, whoa. I'm like, that's a silly line, but like it's kind of thrown in, I feel, for the audience to help explain what's happening.
Yes. Yeah,
and again, I just feel like it would have, this whole time travel-y stuff would have worked better if less was said. I think in general, all my favorite time travel movies, and I think the way time travel should be done in movies, is less is better, because the more you try to explain, the more convoluted or silly it kind of gets. Like if you think about the classic time travel movies, Back to the Future and stuff, they spend fuck all time. They're like, look, it time travels, off we go. And you're like, okay. 12 Monkeys, classic time travel movie. They spend fuck all time explaining time travel in that movie. Recently, I watched Looper again. Right? They spend fuck all time explaining Looper's time travel. They're like, there's people in the future, invented time travel, they send people back, blah, 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 blah. That's it. You never really know the who's, the what's. They never explain the machine. They never explain. It's because the second you start going down that rabbit hole, people start pulling out loose threads of trying to explain something that's really hard to explain. And I feel like Nolan did this again. Like, as much as I like Interstellar, like a lot more than I think a lot of people do. I think that movie is weirdly emotional. It's like a weird, just like, I remember sitting in the cinema crying with Matthew McConaughey's character as he's doing that crying thing that everyone just memes now, and being like, why am I fucking crying? Like, it was just it's a weird movie.
Because there was actual character involved.
Yes. Well, that movie has a lot more character work than this one does, but that movie falls apart for a lot of people at the end because he spends too long trying to wrap up the stuff he set up with the time travel and the loop and everything like that. In a lot of ways, this movie literally just has Interstellar stuff in it as well as Inception stuff in it. Like, it's kind of a cross between the themes and elements from Inception and Interstellar in one movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. Coming out of the film, I was like, I wish there was more explanation or they made things clearer. But now I'm thinking maybe they had too much and that was what was making it more confusing. Yep. Like, if they left it up to your own interpretation as to why certain things were happening, maybe that would be easier to understand than giving an explanation, you trying to figure out how exactly that works, trying to put all the pieces together. Okay, so obviously the end of the film is this giant MacGuffin, which I don't understand. The people from the future sending things back to the past somehow, putting together some device to put in a place so Kenneth Branagh can kill himself and invert the world.
I mean, yeah, I believe so, right? I saw some. So this isn't my idea. So I don't know who to credit, but I did see someone point this out somewhere, and I think it kind of makes sense. I think I think I saw on Twitter someone say that the whole movie is like an analogy for environmental issues, and I'm like, I guess, yeah, because
it's like,
if you want,
when you get down to it, the future hates us so much for ruining the world.
Yes,
they would decide to destroy everybody.
Well,
and everything instead of
they try to explain that if they did that, the world in the future would still live. But I guess, like, I was trying to think about it.
Maybe.
Like, what is the benefit of it? And I'm like, maybe they think, going by what we're told in the movie, maybe whoever it is in the future reckons that if they can destroy the Earth at a certain time period, it'll create like an alternate reality or something. Like, it'll be born fresh or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, they know 1,000 years from now or however. I don't know. I don't remember if they ever said how far into the future this stuff is being said. But, like, if they know X amount of years the Earth's dying, right? And they want to destroy it. But if they destroy it now, it's useless. The Earth is already, like, dead to the core. Like, if we're going with the environmental theme, if we're going with that. So they're like, oh, the Earth's already dead in our time zone. We have no way to fix this. However, if we were able to wipe the Earth of all humankind at a certain time period, and then like kind of hope for it to start afresh, then maybe that would be it. I don't like the second this is what I mean. The second you start trying to explain a lot of things, you get into a lot of. Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. Personally, I don't think it particularly matters too much to go down into the who, the what of the villains, because they really spend
the why is just very stupid.
Yeah, ultimately they don't spend much time in the movie going on it, and there's not much to really pick at as to why they would be wanting to destroy the Earth, or even why Kenneth Branagh's character wants to kill himself and everyone with it, and why he's okay with that.
Yeah,
it's very weird, and unless it's just because. So if you want to go with the time thing of, like, you never know when a loop starts, right? You never, like, all these people are already on predetermined sort of paths to a degree. So, for example, the one part where I thought I'd kind of found a stupid plot hole in the movie, but then I was like, oh, wait, no, that's wrong, was at the end when Kat is on the boat with Kenneth Branagh's character. You're like, well, he's not there. He's supposed to be at the bunker because that's when he gets the device or whatever. But then you realize, that he can be there. This is the young version, and then the older version is at the bunker. Like there's two Kenneth Branagh characters.
Which bunker?
We see two. Well, he has to go at that day. Like they travel back in time. Like,
oh yeah, he goes to the bunk. That was the one day that he left the yacht.
Yes.
Yes.
So he leaves the yacht, but then he's back. But it's a different version.
Yeah. No, it's the older version.
Yeah, it's the older version.
Has gone to the ship, yes.
Yes. See?
The version that actually shot Kat, yes.
Yes. And he at first he thinks it's still the young version.
Yes.
But then he clicks on. That's the part where I was confused for a second. I'm like, how this doesn't really make sense. But I was like, no, wait, this is the older one.
Yes.
That's why he's talking to the protagonist the way he is. Because at first I was like, none of this makes sense. But yeah, it does. It's the older one. They play it out like it's a younger one, but it's not. So that gets very confusing. So and another example of, but it's like all about loops. So he may not have a way out. And I guess like if he's told that he always kills himself, then he always kills himself. For example, one of the cool setups that the movie does is obviously Kat doing that whole speech about the woman diving off the boat.
Yes, and wanting to be her. Yeah,
wanting to be her, and then by the end you find out it actually was her. I think that's one of the cool payoff moments. But again, like she's talking about seeing that, so there's always a loop. You never know when it starts or how it goes. Like these things are just kind of constantly, looping in time to a degree. So then you have the same as the protagonist. It's like, and that's why that they have that one scene halfway through the movie where they're on the ship on their way back in time for the first time, where Neil's character literally says, like, brings up the whole thing of like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Basically to set up everything else that happens in the movie. Because the answer is, if you ask anyone what came first, chicken or egg, most people giving a straight answer are going to go, I don't know. And that's the same to all the time travel stuff. It's like, what came first? The protagonist started Tenet, or someone else did and then told him? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. Because when you boil it down, the protagonist literally has himself tortured at the start of the movie to then be told the code word Tenet and send himself on a journey. Like, he makes sure that everything comes in play with his younger self. So he literally has himself killed, Kind of, But you can't change anything, because that's, if you imagine our version that we watch the movie, then goes in time, and then he makes sure to set up those things again back in time, he does them the way that he saw them. And then the one that set them up for him does them the way he saw them. It's a never going loop. That's why time travel things get really confusing. Because you try and look at things in a straight line and go, there's a start, middle, and end. But in most time travel things, you never really see the start. It's always just already in a constant motion. Yeah.
Well, obviously, the two scenes that kind of work to explain this better are there's the heist, I guess, sequence into Freeport.
Yeah.
Where you see it, obviously, the first way, and then it turns out there's another way. The people they encountered, they were fighting inside were themselves. Or was the protagonist.
Yeah.
There was two of them, and it turns out they were both the protagonist.
Which I guess straight away, I feel like that was pretty, like the second Neil chucks the helmet off and then kind of runs back and tells him tries to stop him from killing himself. I feel like that was like a kind of dead giveaway to what was happening in that scene.
Yes, and then obviously the car chase sequence that we saw
he was in the
both
car.
ways. He was in the car.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the first time, obviously. I don't think you couldn't. It was tinted. There was an illegal tint on that car. There was no...
No, you're not supposed to know the first time, but of course. But yeah, again, these are all just examples of these things just happen, like you never see him for the first time go make that decision. It's already happened. It's always happened. You know what I mean? Like he's always been in that car. He's always fought himself in that building. It's just time travel gets really weird.
It's really weird.
It's odd to me. Like Cat is always diving off that boat. When was the first time she dove off that boat? There isn't a first time. That's the answer. There isn't. It's just
So,
it
yes.
is. Time.
Free will is a lie. We're all destined to do the same things forever.
You want to talk about good time travel movies? Donnie
Yeah.
Darko. I remember watching that for the first time, and the movie kind of broke my soul because I was like, "Wait, what if I don't have free will?"
But yeah, Tenet. How do you think the rest of the world's going to react to Tenet? Do you think that?
I think very mixed reactions because I think the problem is compared to something like if you want to compare this to other big Nolan sci-fi type things, which Interstellar, Inception, right? The two other ones that are most relative to this. The thing with both of those movies, as we're kind of pointing out, is they have a lot more character development, and a lot of the potential issues that people have with those movies kind of get pushed to the side because people can get on board with the emotional journeys those characters go through. And like even people who don't like Dark Knight Rises, it's still Batman, and it's also the third in the trilogy. So, and because as much I say this all the time, right, that I think Dark Knight is a better movie than Dark Knight Rises. However, I would personally rank Rises above Dark Knight, just like on a personal pick, because it is the third, and every time I watch it, it just feels like the culmination of that trilogy. So you kind of forgive. I personally forgive a lot of the issues because of that. Tenet doesn't have all these things going for it. It also doesn't have an A-list star like Leonardo DiCaprio or Matthew McConaughey leading it. Like John David Washington is known to, I guess, more cinema-going audiences. People are going to go, "Oh, the guy from Black Klansman."
People who watch Black Klansman or people who watch Ballers.
Yes, but other than that, he hasn't been a big starring name. Right? So it doesn't have a lot of the safety nets that I feel a lot of his other big sci-fi products have had going for it. And also,
to be fair, he just came off Dunkirk, where he pretty much cast mostly unknowns or very limited or more famous people in small roles.
That's true. I just mean like this movie's negatives doesn't have the safety net that I feel like Inception and Interstellar had with its cast, or even just the fact that it had more character progressive storylines, because I feel like that's honestly just where this movie falls apart. And I really like this movie because, and the things I like most about it are, I think the time travel ideas are cool. I think they're done. Like, I think there's lots of really cool things about this movie, but every single one I would put a butt on and say, but it's messy. Like, like the idea is cool. It's messy. The script is the messiest Nolan script ever. It like from the story through to just the character dialogue through to the fact that the characters aren't really even characters and one's called the protagonist.
The other thing I'll bring up, it's been edited to hell. Like the first half of the film where they're like doing a bunch of conversations and stuff, they're edited so quickly together. It
was probably 4 hours long in his original cut or something like that.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell
it's been so cut down to like the second that as soon as someone finishes a sentence, somebody else starts talking straight away. Like that Michael Caine scene, I imagine it was like a few minutes long. It seems like it's been reduced to barely anything.
Yeah, and that scene feels even weirder because you're like, Michael Caine did not need to play this random dude, but Michael Caine and Christopher Nolan have a working relationship. So
he's the John Ratzenberg to Christopher Nolan.
But that's something like, as much as we're saying the characters aren't great because there's barely any characters, as you said, all the performances are phenomenal, so that kind of helps save it. I think the action scenes in this are fantastic, and of course, worth pointing out. I guess because for me, and because I'm aware of the fact that Nolan just is one of those people that's like, I don't really like using CGI unless I have to. Like he's got that old school mentality. The fact that he crashes a real plane into a building, and I know that watching it, I guess I have more appreciation for it, but it also means that I'm sitting like, I'm really enjoying that scene. And I can't wait to get the Blu-ray and watch the special features because I have no fucking idea. I've read an article today, explained it, but I want to hear people talk about it. I have no idea how they filmed most of the fight scenes or the car chases in this movie. It's absolute nonsense. Like that highway scene with the car going backwards, insanity. Him fighting himself in that hallway. I don't understand how
do you choreograph that?
How do you choreograph that? Yeah. I feel like the only action scene that lets the movie down is the finale. Like,
yeah, it is a bit messy. It's a bit. They don't really set the stakes up properly.
No.
Why does it need to be finished in 10 minutes? Is it just because that's what they decided?
So from the way I took it, they're doing it in tandem, obviously.
Yes.
And it's so that they're getting the other teams can see and help each other at the same time because they're running in reverse. That's why they have that one scene where they're like the building and they blow it up again, or whatever else. I don't know why it's 10 minutes. I guess for whatever reason, but however long it was, it needed to happen at the exact same time for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah, that last sequence is kind of messy. And it's like hard to keep track of what's happening. Robin Pattinson's switching sides, saving the day. But yeah. It'll be interesting, I guess. Obviously, it's not going to financially make its money back, you would assume. Considering there's talk that it needs to make $800 million at the box office. That is not going to happen. Do you think Nolan gets free reign on his next film? Is Warner Brothers going, oh, this was just a blip? Do whatever you want.
I don't think anyone can justifiably blame Nolan for his movie doing bad, even because I just opened up Metacritic, for example. It's got a couple hundreds, couple 80s, couple 75s, 60, 60, 40, 40. It's all over the place, currently sitting at a 71 with whatever the reviews are. So it's not as bad as I feel like, because the initial reaction I feel like I saw was, whoa, it's Nolan's first mega flop. 71 isn't a mega flop,
It's
fine. And I feel like even if it got all these same reviews, people would have gone, oh, 70, mixed reactions. I'll go see it. It's a Nolan movie. If they could, a 70 would be, people said the same about, I remember Interstellar got mixed reactions as well, and everyone went and saw that. So I feel like that's what, I could probably relate this more to Interstellar, because everyone kind of loved Inception. I feel most people loved Inception. That was like a well-rounded.
I think people have pretty much said it's Nolan's masterpiece, magnum opus, his best one so far.
So Interstellar has a 74 Metascore, for example.
Yeah,
I know that's got more reviews, but people still went and saw that. So it's definitely, you can't blame the reviews or anything. I feel like people would go watch it no matter what. Nolan's got that name. Although I do find it very weird because there was an 11-year-old kid in my movie theater, and I could tell he was bored to shit. I have no idea why the parents brought him. I feel like it's maybe a negative.
Because they had no other choice.
Don't go from the director of Dark Knight for Tenet. You go from the director of Interstellar and Inception. Set the
expectations. Yeah,
expectations to what sort of movie it is. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you have to give them credit because at least it's an original property. Which a few are made anymore, at least of this scale. So yeah, I do recommend people go see it in the cinemas if they're safe to do so.
If you're safe to do so, I would.
Are you going to watch it again in cinemas?
Maybe depending on time. I thought about it, but we'll see how it goes.
I feel like I need to see it a second time to.
I would watch it. I would happily watch it a second time because, as I said, I feel like most of my problems are character related, so I'm still going to enjoy watching all the action scenes and it's shot really well. I love the soundtrack. Ludwig. What's his last name? Yeah. No Harms. Rip. He's still alive. It's fine. He's doing Dune.
He's fine. You can't make that joke anymore.
He's doing Dune. So yeah, I mean, I reckon if you're going to watch Tenet, 100% watch it in the theaters. This is a theater movie, but at the same time, Nolan kept being like, "This is the revival of the cinema." Blah 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 blah. This is a blockbuster, like they made blockbusters in the, this is an old school blockbuster. If you think about what young kids, what do they consider blockbusters? Avengers, Marvel movies, right? This isn't that. So, depending on who you are and what you consider a must go see at the theater movie, then this will hit or miss for you. To me, this is a must see on the big screen. Must hear all the bombs through the right speakers. So I
mean, I am kind of looking forward to it being on Blu-ray or whatever, so I can put the subtitles on and be able to understand what
Understand?
all the lines are. You know, rewind things.
I'll say the other thing. Every time I've watched any of these movies like be it Dark Knight Rises or Dunkirk, I've watched these at home on Blu-ray with my headphones on, and they are way easier to understand if you're not in a theater. Like even without subtitles.
Maybe it's where I'm sitting. Like I was slightly off to the side. Maybe you've got to be right in the middle.
Maybe
the perfect spot for like both sides to
could
reach
be
at the same time. You know.
He's mixing it for 10 people in the audience and the rest
10 people in the middle and the rest of you could get fucked.
Yeah.
That seems like a very Nolan thing to do. But yeah. Let us know what you thought of Tenet, either on Twitter, which you can find at explosionnetwork.com/Twitter, or send us an email at mail@explosionnetwork.com. If you want to help us out, leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or tweet a friend about this spoiler review of Tenet that people should not listen to if they haven't seen Tenet.
Do you know what you're giving it?
7.5 is the number that keeps coming to my mind.
Yeah, that's around where I am at. Probably a 7.5.
Yep,
I think I started at an 8 and then I dropped the more I thought about the characters. So 7.5 is probably.
Yeah, but I mean they're fun to watch though.
They are fun to watch. But
I mean, I really enjoyed Rob Pattinson in this.
Yeah, what a revival. Not really a revival for those that have been around sticking by his side for years. Fucking disgusting. Everyone's suddenly back between this and fucking Batman. Everyone's like, oh, Rob Pattinson's cool now. I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Been by him for years. Get the hell out of here. Twilight and beyond. Best buds forever. Love you, Robert.
So, till next time, keep watching stuff, I guess. This is the start of a beautiful friendship.
I don't know what that says if you play it backwards, but it probably says, Hail Satan.
Hell happened here.
Hasn't happened yet.